goddess Kali is worshipped the world over. She's seen as a fierce feminine force and as a kind, benevolent mother. The more one studies her, the more ambiguous she becomes. She is simultaneously both destroyer and savior. Some believe that through her we attain respect for our own mortality and unimportance. Through her we are able to see that our ego is not separate from God. Indeed, through her we see that everything is in fact God. The name Kali is derived from the word Kala, which in Sanskrit has two meanings. The first is black, which explains her black appearance. The second is appointed time, which is a euphemism for death. She is often perceived to be connected with violence and destruction, but has a benign aspect to her that contradicts her classic image. She is often referred to as the Divine Mother. The origin of Kali is described in the Devi Mahatmya section of the Markandeya Purana. Quote, it is stated that she emerged from the forehead of the Divine Mother, Durga, who became black with anger as the demons headed by Kanta and Munda came to attack her. Kali came out with a big, hideous face and a dreadful appearance. She carried a sword, a noose, and a club. She wore the skin of a tiger and had as her ornament a garland of human heads. Her eyes were red and sunken, her tongue moved to and fro, her shrill voice filled the quarters. End quote. The creation myth of Kali has many different versions and paints many different pictures of her. In all versions, she is born from the brow of the goddess Durga during a battle against a demon. This demon is replicated every time a drop of his blood hits the earth. Kali ultimately wins the battle by swallowing all of the demons. After Kali had obtained victory, it is said she was drunk on the excitement of the battle, and she began to dance a very destructive dance which worried the other gods, who asked Shiva, her lover, to intervene. One version of the story says that a baby Shiva laid among the dead demons and wailed to attract the attention of Kali to stop her destruction. This version seems to reinforce the image of Kali as the Divine Mother. The more popular version is one where Shiva, not as an infant, lays himself down in front of her feet to stop her. Kali stops immediately, and her tongue falls out in shame for having stepped on her husband. This becomes the classic image of Kali. Kali is traditionally described as having red eyes, wild black hair, and 4 arms. Quote, he saw that the Divine Mother holds in her 2 left hands a man's severed head and a sword. With her 2 right hands she offers boons and reassurance to her devotees. In one aspect she is terrible, and in another she is the ever-affectionate mother of her devotees. The 2 ideals are harmonized in her. End quote. Her complexion is often said to be black, but more often than not is depicted as blue. Sri Ramakrishna would disagree with the idea that Kali's complexion was in fact black. He compares her to the sky or the ocean, both of which appear to be blue, but neither really are. The clothing Kali wears has particular symbolic meaning. She has adornments, earrings made of severed heads, a girdle made of dismembered arms, and a necklace made of skulls. Each of these skulls represents a letter of the Sanskrit alphabet. Her lack of real clothing is a symbol of her detachment from Maya and worldly things. Sister Nivedita says, yet this image, so fearful to the Western mind, is perhaps dearer than any other to the heart of India. Worship of Kali is primarily concentrated in Bengal. Kali has many forms which are worshipped, and most of them are fearful and ferocious. However, there are benign forms of Kali in addition to the ferocious ones. According to Chakravarti, the most popular form worshipped is Dakshina Kali. This form takes on the classic characteristics and appearance of Kali, black complexion, red eyes, etc. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, the most popular form of Kali worshipped at that time, which would be the mid to late 1800s, was Syama Kali. Syama Kali was worshipped in households, and she was the dispenser of boons and the dispeller of fear. Other forms are Raksha Kali, who was turned to people during times of crisis and panic, and is primarily protectress. Smalsna Kali, who is the embodiment of power and destruction, and Mahakali. Mahakali is a very unique form, and her name is translated as Great Kali. The form of Mahakali is often depicted as having 10 arms, 10 legs, and 10 heads. Kali is most revered in the Hindu sect of Shaktism and Tantra. Shaktism worships the goddess, or Shakti, in all her forms. There are 10 main forms of Shakti called Mahavidyas. Kali is one of these forms, and is one of the most commonly worshipped. The image of Kali and Shiva, which was referred to at the end of the creation myth of Kali, takes on a more philosophical form in Shaktism. Devotees believe that Shakti represents action, and for this reason is on par with or superior to Brahman, who is normally considered the top of the Hindu deity hierarchy. Shakti is pure power of the Divine Mother. In Shaktism, Brahman represents the Purush or soul. Brahman is inactive, Shakti is active. It is from this relationship between them that the phrase Shiva without Shakti is Shava. The soul or consciousness without power or action is nothing. It is here where we begin to understand the views of Sri Ramakrishna and his relationship with Kali. Many of Sri Ramakrishna's ideas about religion and God stem from this relationship between Shakti and Brahman. Quote, take the image of Shiva and Kali. Kali stands on the bosom of Shiva. Shiva lies under her feet like a corpse. Kali looks at Shiva. All this denotes the union of Purusha and Prakriti. Purusha is inactive, therefore Shiva lies on the ground like a corpse. Prakriti performs all her activities in conjunction with Purusha. Thus she creates, she preserves, and destroys. End quote. Kali is most revered in the Hindu sects of Shaktism and Tantra. Shaktism worships the goddess or Shakti in all her forms. There are 10 main forms of Shakti called Mahavidyas. Kali is one of these forms and is one of the most commonly worshipped forms. The image of Kali and Shiva, which is referred to at the end of the creation myth of Kali, takes on a more philosophical tone in Shaktism. Devotees believe that Shakti represents action and for this reason is on par with or superior to Brahman, which is normally considered to be the top of the Hindu's deity hierarchy. Shakti is pure power of the Divine Mother. In Shaktism, Brahman represents the Purusha or soul. Quote, as the Purusha soul, he is consort or spouse of Maya, nature, the fleeting diversity of sense. It is in this relation that we find him beneath the feet of Kali. His recumbent posture signifies inertness, the soul untouched and indifferent to the external. End quote. Brahman is inactive, Shakti is active, and it is from this relationship between them that the common phrase, Shiva without Shakti is Shava, is born. It means the soul or consciousness without power or action is nothing. It is here where we begin to understand the views of Sri Ramakrishna and his relationship with Kali. Many of Sri Ramakrishna's ideas about religion and God stem from this relationship between Shakti and Brahman. Sri Ramakrishna is revered as a saint in Hinduism, and most of his life was devoted to seeking the true nature of God and reality. He was born in India to Brahmin parents in 1836 in West Bengal. He was married to Sarada when he was 23 and she was only 5. This age difference was common at the time, and she did not live as his wife until she was older. What is interesting to note is that the marriage was never consummated. Sri Ramakrishna saw every woman as his beloved mother Kali, and so therefore could not have relations with his wife. In the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, one of his followers, known only as M, recounts some of his exploits and teachings. It is rather interesting to note that one of Ramakrishna's followers did not exactly follow him, but rather he worshipped Kali. When Ramakrishna asked his follower why he preferred to worship the Divine Mother, the follower replied, Maharaj, when they are in trouble, your devotees come running to you. But where do you run when you are in trouble? Sri Ramakrishna was associated with many different schools of Hinduism, including Vedanta, Shakti, Vaishnava, and Tantra. He believed that all paths would eventually lead to God. He temporarily practiced other religions during his lifetime, most notably Christianity and Islam. When he actively practiced these faiths, he had a vision of a man resembling the prophet as well as one of Madonna and child. According to Sri Ramakrishna, the ultimate goal of a relationship with the Divine Mother is non-dual consciousness. Non-dual consciousness to him means mainly that one must realize that everything is Kali, Shakti, the Divine Mother, or non-dual Brahman, or God. Kali creates the illusion of the world, the Maya. Quote, men are deluded by her Maya and have become attached to the world. End quote. The dual consciousness we know separates the real world we think we live in from Kali, but Kali is actually everything. She is the meditation and the one who meditates. If this is understood correctly, then you are then drawn to the conclusion that Kali and the Shakti consciousness are responsible for everything. Everything that has been done, everything that is being done, and everything that will be done, everything is her. In this sense, Sri Ramakrishna's view is quite fatalistic. We appear to have free choice. However, everything happens because of a pre-existing set of causes and effects. Richard Chambers Prescott, upon reflection of Sri Ramakrishna's teachings, he reasoned that the mind was a slave. Quote, God is the doer, I am doing nothing. Man's sufferings and worries spring only from the persistent thoughts that he is the doer. End quote. In order to realize non-dual consciousness and ultimate reality, we must let go of the illusion, our ego. We must fully realize that God and our ego are one. In order to let go of our ego and the material world, we must first immerse ourselves in it, according to Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna compares the attraction people have to God and the Divine Mother to that of a child who,